All right, so today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a texture fish. So a texture is how something feels. So we have some different items in the middle of the table that feel differently that we will be using to change the texture of the clay. You will also be using 5 different pieces of clay. One is a larger piece of clay. It is the largest one you will be working with. The second piece is a little bit smaller than the first piece, but it's also a pretty good sized piece of clay. These will be the body of the fish. This will be the fin and the tail. Over here you have 3 more pieces. 2 of them are what you call spheres. Spheres are like a little ball or a 3-dimensional circle. It is not what you would find on the edge of a stick that is super pointy. No, it is like a ball, just like this. You have 2 of them today. You are also going to find a small but a little bit longer piece than the original spheres. It is just like this. We're going to be using this later to turn into a coil to make a mouth for our fish. The first piece I would like you to use to make your fish is the larger piece of clay. You are going to take your larger piece of clay and you are going to place it on top of your texture. Now, you are not using one of the spheres. You are not using the long piece of clay. You are not using the slightly smaller piece of clay. You are using the largest piece of clay. You're going to take it, place it on a texture, make your hand into a fist, and you are going to pound it to make what is called a slab. Now, a slab is a flat piece of clay. A slab should be about as thick as a cookie. So, shouldn't be so thin that it looks like a piece of paper and it starts falling apart. No, but it should not be so thick that it still looks like a piece of clay like this that you just cut off. Nope, it's gonna look kind of like a clay cookie. Gently hitting it. All right, there we go. Next, what you're gonna do when you are done pounding out your slab or your clay cookie, you're gonna use what is called slip. Slip is clay plus water. You're gonna use one finger, place it into the slip, and gently go over the edges of your clay. This will get rid of any cracks and give a smooth edge to the base of your fish. Now, my fish is not a circle on this one, but my original piece was more of a circle. If you would like to use a stick and gently carve just the edges of your clay off to make it a little bit more of a circle, you can, but you do not have to. It is up to you. Do not make it so small though that you can't add a fin or a tail. You still want a pretty big piece of clay for your base of your fish. When you are done creating your slab, what you're going to do is you are going to take it, you're going to gently peel it off your fabric, and it is going to make a print or a copy of the texture onto the clay. Do not start pressing really hard on the clay, otherwise you will lose this texture. If you look closely, you're going to see some pretty cool textures left on your clay. After you've looked at your texture, you're going to take your texture and you're going to place it aside. You're then going to pick up the second largest piece. So not the sphere, not the second sphere, not the little bit longer piece of clay, but the second largest piece of clay. You're going to take it and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to place it on our textures. You're going to make a fist and you are gently going to pound it out to make a slab or a clay cookie. When you are done making your second clay cookie or a slab, you are going to take your slip, you are going to place one finger inside, and you're going to gently rub over those edges. This will give another smooth finish to your second clay cookie or your new clay slab. Then just gently peel it off and reveal the new texture of the clay. Now what you're going to do is place it down on your table. You're going to have your original piece. This big one is going to be the base of my fish. So if you look at this original texture fish, this piece below that circle is going to be the base of your fish. That's this one. This piece right here, we are going to cut in half, and you're going to use for both your fin and your tail. To cut this one in half, you are going to use a stick. You're going to place it in the middle. Now remember, the middle is not going to be up here. That is not cutting your cookie in half. This over here is not cutting your cookie in half. This is not cutting your cookie in half. Going directly down the middle will cut your cookie in half. So gently drag your stick through the middle of your cookie. If you need to go over it 2 or 3 times, you can to make sure your cookie is cut in half. So not a whole cookie, but 2 halves of your cookie. So now we got our tail, we got our fin, we got our base. Now we gotta attach it all together to start creating our fish. To do so, you are going to use a toothbrush. This is not a toothbrush you are brushing your teeth with. It is not a toothbrush that you're going to brush your hand with. No, it is a toothbrush that you are brushing your clay with. It will help it all stay together. So I'm going to take my slip. I'm going to take my toothbrush, and I'm going to do a process called slip and score. Since this is slip, we're going to use this to do the scoring. So putting it together, take your toothbrush, take your slip, and you are going to decide where you're going to attach my tail. I'm going to attach my tail on the back of my fish. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to gently do some circles. A score is a little scratch marks. Slip is the clay and water. So by scratching it with the toothbrush with the slip on it, it creates a slip and score. Then I'm going to flip over my tail. I'm going to dip it back in the water or the slip, scrub the back of the tail, making little tiny scratch marks. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to place it on top of the base of my fish. When I've done that, I am then going to press down. So I have added slip, which is the clay and water. I have scored, meaning added little pinch marks to attach my fish, little tail. Then I'm going to use a little bit more slip. Go over those edges to make sure it is firmly attached. So I should not see a crack in between the tail and the body. You should be able to see where everything is attached. Add a little bit more. If you see a crack, just gently rub over it with the slip to cover it up. I see a crack over here. I'm just going to cover that up now so I don't have any problems later. Now do not take the slip and rub over your whole fish because then you'll lose your texture. You still want to see that texture. You want to have that cool feeling to it when you're done. If you would like to for your tail, pinch the ends in or pinch the ends of the tail like this. So pinching in the middle, pinching the ends to create more of a tail look. You can do that. That's okay. If you don't want to, that's also okay because this is your fish. There we go. I've got the body, I've got the tail. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other half of my circle and I am going to, or my slab or my clay cookie, and I'm going to attach it onto my fish to make a tail. Now I could attach the fin up here. I could have it sticking up. I could have it down here. I could have it down here. It's up to you what you would like to do. I'm going to do mine at an angle like I did over here. Also, if you do not want your tail, your fin, this big, it does not have to be this big. It can be a little bit smaller. If you want to make it just a little bit smaller, not really small, but just a little bit smaller, you can take your stick and just gently hold down and cut those edges off. So pressing your finger down, holding it against your finger, and gently cutting the edge of that clay. See how that came off? That's just a little bit smaller. I made mine smaller. You do not have to make yours smaller. Next what I'm going to do is attach it on. Same process as the tail. I'm going to take my dirty toothbrush. I'm going to gently rub it in the slip. I'm going to rub the back of the fin with little tiny circles. I'm going to identify on my fish where I would like to attach this fin, and I'm going to make little tiny circles. See how I'm getting little scratch marks on there? Little scratch marks, little scratch marks. I'm going to take my fin, I'm going to place it on top of my fish, and I'm going to gently press down, just like that. Take my slip again and gently go over those edges to make sure it's not going to fall off. If you do not attach these pieces correctly, it is going to fall off. So make sure you are scratching with that toothbrush on both the body and the fin, and then sticking it together and adding the slip on the sides. That is our slip and score, just like that. So at this point, you are beginning to see what your fish is going to look like. But he is not quite done. It is missing something up here. It is missing its face. What I'm going to be doing is taking first the two spheres, not spears, not a pointy stick, but a sphere, which is a three-dimensional form for the eyes. I'm going to take it. I'm going to pinch it gently, just a little bit like that. I'm then going to slip it, use the toothbrush to get a little bit of slip. Rub the back of that shape, rub with that toothbrush on the fish where I'm going to attach that eye, little tiny circles, place the eye on top and gently press down. And I'm just going to take a little bit of slip and rub over those edges. Now, on this one over here, I used smaller pieces of clay for the eyes, and on this one, I'm using a little bit larger. So when I pinch this one down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it really, really close, and it's going to stick off a little bit, and that's okay. If you don't want them this big, what you can do is take your sphere, pinch the clay, roll it back into a ball, pinch it down again, that to make your eye, then put it on. That'll give you a little bit smaller eye. Now I'm going to keep mine the same size as this one, but if you would like to make them both smaller, that is up to you. Also, if you start seeing little cracks, just take a little slip and go over them. I'm going to attach it, toothbrush in the slip, rub in the back with those little tiny circles, making all that score. Go to the fish, do the same thing, make that score, rubbing in little circles. Place it on, press down, and just going over those edges. If I need more slip, just going over those edges. Need to move it, just gently move it up, press down, go over those edges. When you are done, you are then going to take your stick and you are going to poke the pupil or the middle part of your eye, the black part that you see. You'll see normally the color and the white, then you'll see the pupil. You're just going to make a little dot in the middle. Now this dot, this little poke does not go all the way through my fish. I should not see it on the back of my fish. See, I do not see where the wood piece went through. Right now, it is just poking the top, right through that little sphere. I'm gonna do the same one on the other eye, making two eyes, looking more and more like a fish. Now, I'm missing one more part. That is gonna be the mouth. I'm going to take this larger piece of clay. I'm going to take it between my hands and I'm going to roll it back and forth, back and forth. This is going to create what is known as a coil. A coil is basically like a long piece of clay, and it kind of looks like a worm. So when you're rolling out your coil, pretend you're making a worm out of clay. If it gets a little cracks, just add some slip. That's okay. The longer it sits out, it'll start to crack sometimes. Now, if you do not want to use all the clay, you don't have to. You can just have a smaller mouth. It's up to you, though, how big your mouth is going to be. Now, there are different shapes you can use for your mouth. Your mouth does not have to look like this. This is like a little, I'm going to say a screaming fish. You can make a screaming fish. That's okay. Or you can make a happy fish. You could make a super serious fish. You could make the letter O out of your coil, so just loop it around. And it could be a surprised fish. It is up to you what you would like to do. I'm going to stick with the letter O today. Go over those cracks a little more because I want a surprised fish now. You don't have to do a surprised fish though. You can do whatever type of fish you would like to do. So make my little mouth just like that. Now I'm going to attach the mouth onto my fish. How I'm going to do so is the same process we've been using of the slip and score. So dip the toothbrush into the slip, gently rub the back, little tiny circles, gently rub the toothbrush onto the area of fish where you're going to place the mouth, makes little tiny scratch marks. Then you're going to take the mouth, you're going to take the fish, and you're just going to gently push them together. When you are done, you are going to take your finger in the slip. You are going to go over all of those edges to make sure it is completely attached. You should not see a line like that in between your mouth and your fish. You want to go over with the slip and kind of cover up that line so it looks like it's all one piece of clay. And there you go. That is how you create your very own texture fish. When you are completely done, like everything's done, the tail is done, the fin is done, the mouth is done, both the eyes are done, you're going to take it, you are going to flip it over oh so carefully. You are going to use your stick to carve your initials into the back of the fish. Now, you're not going to press so hard that the little marks you make are going to show through the front. No, you're just going to gently, but enough that you're going to see those letters. So the initials are the first letter of your first name. So I'm going to carve gently the first letter of your first name. So this is the first letter of my name, but you are going to carve the first letter of your first name. If you have extra clay, just gently rub it off. Then you're going to do a little polka dot to show how that is just the first letter. Next, you're going to do the second letter of your last name. So since my last name is Clark, I'm going to write the letter C, or carve the letter C in the back of my fish right here. And I'm going to add one more dot to show. Just like that. Brush away any extra clay. And there you go. You've got your name on your fish. You've got your texture fish done. Next, you're going to take it both hands underneath because you want to be oh so carefully. When the color of your table is called and you are done, you are going to take your fish to the back of the room and you are going to lay it on the counter exactly where I tell you to place it. We're then going to let it dry, and I will explain more about the firing process next.